I'm Pat Torres. Welcome to The Story. We're starting out in downtown Portland at Fire Station 1 because we're getting a peek behind the scenes at the internal struggles with the innovative program called Portland Street Response. The idea is to send workers from Portland Street Response on 911 calls when police are not needed. But they've had some growing pains. They're part of the Fire Bureau, so when the retiring fire chief agreed to sit down and talk about them, well, we knew that would be our big story tonight. Sara Boone is Portland's retiring fire chief. She's been quite the pioneer. First black woman firefighter hired by the Bureau and now first black fire chief. She's been at the Bureau for 28 years. She rarely gives interviews, so I was thrilled to get the chance to sit down and chat with her about her career. If you missed that report on Monday, by the way, no problem. We posted it on our KGW YouTube channel. We also talked about Portland Street Response, which we did not show you on Monday, but we are going to get into tonight. Portland Street Response has been in the news quite a bit with some internal issues lately. It was launched back in February of 2021. The idea is to send trained workers to calls for mental health issues where police are not really needed. It's better for the police and often better for those in crisis. The team is made up of a paramedic and a mental health worker. They are dispatched by 911 operators to these non-criminal calls. A recent Portland State University study found that over the last year, its second in existence, Portland Street Response handled 7,418 calls as more were funneled their way. That led to a 3.5% reduction in the total number of calls that would have been sent to Portland police. It also resulted in police going on 19% fewer non-emergency calls. People who were helped by the team gave them high ratings, 4.8 out of possible 5, so most are very happy. Portland Street Response has also helped place 10 people into permanent housing. One of the study authors, though, says more needs to be done, says the group really needs more oversight by professionals in the mental health field.
That they need more robust delivery of clinical supervision and people who are trained and licensed clinical providers, clinical mental health providers, who can provide them with the support they need. When they're in the field, they know they can call someone to provide that in the moment support and guidance.
The group is part of the Fire Bureau, at least for the moment. That's in part because the commissioner who pushed for the program, Joanne Hardesty, was in charge of the Bureau at the time. She's no longer a commissioner. It also helped the group get access to 911 calls, according to its website. Now, currently, there's a bit of an argument over what direction Street Response should take. Last winter, Renee Gonzalez, the new city commissioner in charge of the Fire Bureau, told Street Response workers to stop handing out tents and tarps to homeless people due to the fire risk. The PSU report found they'd given out more than 2,200 sleeping bags, blankets, or tents. Gonzalez also ordered Street Response to be present when city contractors are sweeping homeless camps, to be available if someone goes into crisis. It's something that several current workers have objected to. The commissioner recently told us he likes the program, but that its mission needs to be more clearly defined.
You know, we're all looking at a really difficult humanitarian crisis on our street, the homeless problem. And we're just trying to figure out what's Portland Street Response's piece of that equation. And certainly someone in mental distress needs non-police intervention. There's food needs, there's clothing needs, there's sometimes Narcan, much less long-term behavioral health, and shelter, eventually housing. Portland Street Response can only kind of fill one part of that, of a larger, solution.
So it's against that backdrop that I thought, what a treat to get insights from the outgoing fire chief, Sara Boone. It seemed like it had, it had kind of a big splash start, and then now maybe is going through some troubled waters.
Well, I think with any new program, any pilot, any new program, it can start off with a bang. That's one impression. And it can start, and you can get further along the line, and then you're going to see other challenges. And I think where we are today is you can either be so focused and militant on one way and the only way that you lose sight of, here are the things that we didn't even think about in the beginning, because you couldn't even think about them. But they are, these are things that we have to look at right now before we go forward. And I don't want to get too specific, but I think, you know, this is something that Chief Gillespie has taken over and looked at. And I think it really is what is within this structure that we are missing when it really comes to building a strong foundation.
Chief Boone points out there is much more to an organization than the part that we, the public, see. She agrees Portland Street Response sounds like a great idea, but says it's lacking the behind-the-scenes structure to really make it work long-term.
Not just looking at the outward-facing service, but what's going on when it comes to the foundation and the support. And do you have the resources? Do you have the training? Are those policies in place? And do you have teams that can support the expansion of what we're trying to provide out in the streets? And we don't.
Chief Boone says Portland Street Response was unique and successful because it used input from those they were helping to design the program. But now she's concerned, as the commissioner is, that it has lost its way and needs to pick a focus.
But I think where we're also at is, are we in competition? Are we doing duplication? Are there things that, you know, we've lost and strayed?
Is that like you talk about handing out the blankets and the tents and that kind of stuff, or no?
Well, or looking at the iteration is if this is what that is, you know, is the Fire Bureau the right bureau to home for it? And it definitely is not the mechanism of distribution if it is going to be in the Fire Bureau. Right. So where are they aligning with? And again, are you aligning as a 911 first responder, or are you aligning with a network when it comes to providing social services, when it comes to crisis intervention, and when it comes to connecting to resources? I don't know I don't know. It's a little bit of everything. But I think that's where everybody needs to have that discussion and be like, are we actually going to be mobile crisis, highly technical skilled, that augments, I would say, or supplements that you can send, because fire and police, right? I can't speak for police, so I'll just speak for fire, right? Many of those calls were sending police because you didn't have...
There's nobody else.
There's nobody else, yeah. Right? So if you do have the mental health responder, a clinician that highly skilled, and it is, we're sending you in to deal with this crisis, great. What happens after that? Or you go back in service, then on to the next call. If we want to be social services, where we're distributing, you know, clothing and food boxes, and that's a whole...
And how are you any different than all the nonprofits that are doing that?
And that's okay, yeah. But it has to be coordinated and under some sort of structure, yeah, that makes it efficient.
Thanks to Chief Boone for talking so openly about that. Portland Street Response has a budget of roughly $10 million for this fiscal year, which started a few days ago. OPB reports it is mostly made up of one-time funding. So what's your take on Portland Street Response? Do you like their mission? What do you think they should focus on? Should they be handing out food and shelter, or doing something else? Maybe nothing at all? It's your opinion, but share it with us, will you? Send us an email. The address is thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. I look forward to hearing from you.